you may well have seen this advertised through either CDBB or the UK BIM Alliance. The call closed a couple of weeks ago, and we had some brilliant interest. I must say that we had a lot of interest in the call, and we're just going through the evaluation stage, and the project will be launched next week. So we noticed, we understood that we had this problem, really, that there was, I think because we've maybe used to the term BIM so much, but it means so many different things to different people that it was difficult to measure maturity, and it was difficult to measure benefits as well. And we needed to take a step back, I think, and have a look across the UK at all the brilliant work that's being done in lots of different pockets, and to generate this evidence that we need to see around why a slight change in working is beneficial. So if we can get a significant depth into those two problem areas, then we can look at where the gaps in measurement are. We can understand where people are really focusing their effort. Is it around modelling? Is it around information management? And we can start to put in the supports then that's needed to fill any gaps. But also we can start to promote the benefits. So we can talk objectively, really, about the things that are working, and really what the positives and probably the negatives are that are coming out of that. That's the project with CDBB, and as Alexandra said, hopefully there will be chances to work to repeat these sorts of calls in the future. And I'd also just like to mention a couple of projects that are coming out of Syria. So the Geospatial Information Systems for Infrastructure Asset Management, that doesn't roll off the tongue, I have to say.
You said it very well.
GISIAM. I don't know, maybe that's a new acronym coming up. So anyway, if that's an area that you're particularly interested in, it may well be worth getting in touch with Syria to see if you can be involved in that project. Also, innovative technologies and construction. So please, if that's something that you want to get engaged with, please do that. Kieran Tully at Syria, you've got his telephone number there as well. So just to go back to what the plans are for 2019, I'll just put these quickly on the screen. The important thing is that we're looking for projects to come through the Alliance all of the time. And there is no particular shape or style to a project. It's more about understanding how it's going to benefit the wider industry. So Rob's project only came through maybe about 2 months ago, and we've got that going. And there are going to be other projects coming through. We've had one around BIM for housing associations just this week. So it's not, there is no particular solution that the Alliance can offer. We'll look to maybe help shape the project. It might be that all we have to do is join you up with somebody else that's doing similar work, or we might look to be a point of knowledge distribution around that project. It's very easy to get a project to us. So we are looking at a call process. Benefits, there are a few benefits around having a call process. A, it enables you to plan your project and to think about the best point of time at which to put it to the Alliance. B, it allows the Alliance to really structure itself over evaluation. And what we can do collectively is we can start to work out what projects are really important to industry. So we can potentially start to shape the projects maybe. Now that we've got the common data environment in place, we can also look at how those projects are managed more collaboratively, and hopefully that will start to cut down on some of the sort of, not administrative burden, but just the traffic that you generate when you're delivering projects working with people in lots of different organisations. In the meantime, please put forward your projects through the UK BIM Alliance. What happens when you submit a project through the BIM Alliance website is that it comes through, a notification comes through to the implementation website, and we'll come back to you and we'll ask you for some information around those projects. So we're trying to just get more insight into the project. Very easy form. Rob, how long would you say it took you to fill in the form? 10 minutes?
I copy and pasted it from somewhere else, so it's quite quick for me.
So it's a really quick process. Don't feel that you're going to be massively burdened by doing it, and we will look to provide the right support to you. So whistle stop tour, 20 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Very much.
Thank you. Rather than do a Q&A and then ask the exec, I think we might as well, please can I invite the rest of the exec up here? We'll do a Q&A, 10 minutes, and then we'll make it go. So Anne, Martin, Sean, still here, Stephen, Pam's had to, I think, leave us for a minute, so, and there we are here. And obviously David's in Saudi, so he can't join us, but yeah, please, any questions, don't be afraid to ask anything, awkward or not, just do ask. Craig?
I've got one on standards. Sorry, Anne, I'm
Shout
looking
for
at you.
Craig, so.
So I've got one on standards. Sorry,
Microphone. You got a mic, sorry.
Okay. ISO 19651 and 2 are out. Past 91, the 4 questions revolving around BIM processes still point to the old standard. So I've been asked several times myself, is it being updated, and if it is, when?
So the problem we've got is the publicly available specifications is that they're externally sponsored and paid for. Apparently it's only just been reviewed, so as I'm told, we can't actually review and change it. So not very satisfactory situation, to be honest. I am going to the CB meeting tomorrow, which is the strategy committee of BSI tomorrow, so I will be asking what would be the best way of doing it, but unfortunately, yeah, it's not very helpful really. We are where we are, and it might be worth us making a comment on the guidance framework about that, but I'll get some advice from BSI on that.
Thank you.
I can't believe there's no other questions. That'd be great. Duncan, it's finally ready. Unleashed.
Common data environment that the UK BIM Alliance now has, what does that mean for the regions? Are we supposed to use it?
So I think I'll take that one.
What does it mean for me as
go for it. Yeah, no, so under engagement, we will set up, and we're doing it as of this morning, me and Sean were having a discussion, so for each of the streams under engagement, communities being one, affiliates, and a number of the others, we will set up those teams, an area to collaborate. So initially it will be, we had I think for the communities leads, but there's no reason why we can't have each chair of each community group, BIM4, BIM region, invited to a space, and you can communicate, collaborate there, as well as Slack and other things.
So what we're also looking at though is to say the fact that CD is both a platform and a process. So in answer to your question, which processes do you feel don't currently work and could be addressed, and which processes do you just not want to mess with because they're just fine as they are? And
there
are
lots on both sides of that.
And so that's why that's what I said when I'm publishing that piece of work, is to demonstrate the fact that unfortunately people only talk about one half of that conversation. So it's very much going to be looking exactly at that, is what is it you need to solve, what's the best way to access information, what's the best way to work with it, and then we'll solve it as we go along. That's why we think it's a truly collaborative approach to doing it. That's why we're going through acceptance testing at the moment on the core and the functionality, and then building the process as we go along.
I think that probably needs to challenge all parts of the alliance as well, in that process of, here is a process that is documented on a site, therefore you should be doing things rather than not doing things.
I think there's a real thing about what you need, well not but what everybody needs the common data environment to do for them, and obviously some consistency is useful, but equally we don't want that to be a barrier. So I think Sean can tick me off if I'm out of turn here, but it is there to help, not to hinder or to block. So that there needs to be an open conversation there. So your input would be very much appreciated on that.
And I must just commend Sean for the journey he's been on, because it was quite a significant process that he had to go through. And actually, there's a whole lot more to it than you can possibly imagine, which is why, quite rightly, we're trying to publish it as a way of looking at this in terms of best practice. But yeah, the aim is to get it out to the people who need to use it. Simple as. May.
Quick question. If there's a project that's ongoing, Anne knows which one, that we want to turn into a alliance project, what's the sort of process for that? Because it being not, you're not starting from scratch. Because I appreciate the presentation was if you have an idea as opposed to an ongoing thing.
That's fine, because the project could be just the publication of some work that's already been done, or it could be the next iteration of that work that's already done. So if you go through just the same process through the website of it's very high level information, and what we do with that is then we collect more information from you. So it doesn't have to be a new project, it could be something you're working on.
Does the alliance help in terms of, because when we did a win for Rock Report, it was some time ago, help in terms of resources, so volunteers, for example, to do, interviews?
So one of the things that we ask through that when we collect more information is exactly, what do you want from the alliance? So it's really down for you to give direction on what's going to be helpful to you, and that could be resources, it could be money, it could just be a voice out to industry, and then we'll look at how feasible it is to provide what's needed.
Is that something that could be working with software developers, do you think?
In what way?
Well, if there's someone willing to hand over a project for a case study for the Alliance, surely there'll be, I'm just going to say, like Autodesk could supply this stuff because they do it all the time. So that we can study it that way rather than people actually handing over their models. Because at the end of the day, the model is what we're studying, isn't it, really?
Well, I
in
think
a common data environment.
we're studying all sorts of things. So there's a big element around what guidance is needed for the industry. Around there's how are we working with models? What are the barriers? What do we need to do next? How are we dealing with information? What are the legal ties that we've got to deal with? So there are lots of ways in which projects can be presented to us. I think what we would say is that we're in the habit, we would like to be in the habit of collaboration. So if we can join people together to get their projects going, then that's what we'll try and do.
So I think we're really keen to know of projects which are going on, not that they need to be done by and the alliance is you rather than the people standing. So we want the activity to be there with you or elsewhere. We can link projects together, or we can just publicise that there's a project going and what the outputs for that can be. So absolutely, if you know that there's a project going which could do with a bit of help or maybe linkage, then just let us know. We've got obviously the links of the communities, so hopefully we're knowing what the BIM 4s are doing on their projects, so we can just say, these are the outputs coming out from these different BIM 4s, go and have a look at them. Sometimes we'll discover that actually a couple of the BIM 4s are doing quite similar work, so then we can just point them and say, look, do work together on that. From the point of view of the vendors, we've got the technology group, so we can feed into the technology group any feedback on what the industry would like from the vendors, but equally technology group often are saying that we need to find out what's going on, for instance, around the product data working group or the standard side of things. So it's very much a two-way conversation. I can see the similar sort of thing happening with BIM for clients, for instance. So it's allowing people to have a safe environment where they don't feel they're being bombarded and put on the spot, but equally we can then facilitate collaboration across groups as well. So I do think it's really important, do feel if you've got a project underway, don't be shy of saying, actually I've got this one and I would like it actually to go across industry and to be seen to be agnostic, that's absolutely where we would welcome stepping in. I suppose what we perhaps didn't emphasise enough is the guidance framework. The drive for that is to have a unified guidance framework which the industry gets around. So the institutions we discourage from inventing their own guidance and their own training. Actually, we can start to hang training from different institutions off that guidance framework, and then very particular things can be, but rather than the umpteen flavours that we had before. So I think that's a really important element, is that when there are these different projects and so forth, we would really like to be able to demonstrate that there really is, struggling not to say one version of the truth, but you kind of get, that we want convergence rather than that divergence, because I think that's where people got very, very confused in the past.
Just to finish that point on projects, one of the biggest tasks we have is discovering what's out there, then signposting it and coordinating the work effort. So, as Anne said, if there is work in progress projects and you just want to share it, that's ideal for us. It's really, really helpful. It just avoids duplication, and maybe we can connect you with people who are already working on the same thing. So, please just fire in your ideas. There's no bad ideas.
Any more questions?
Okay. Sorry, catching up as I've now got it. Actually, it's for you, Andy. In terms of projects that have been done through Think BIM, so Yorkshire and Humber BIM region linked with Leeds Beckett University, we've had 6 dissertations produced off the back of your hub data, and one of them involves the MBS BIM survey. So one of our students has done a dissertation around that and what the benefits and what the queries and bits and pieces. So I
That'd
would
be brilliant.
put him in touch with you.
That'd be fantastic. Yeah.
That might help you with the groundwork of what you're trying to do now.
And also then, so as you'll see, is that we are talking more and more with Centre of Digital Built Britain. So we have an ongoing dialogue around what else is needed to help industry in implementing BIM and the UK BIM framework. So any thoughts you have on that, as this is a real gap or this is a real challenge, please do let us know. I do sit on behalf of the Alliance on the Digital Framework Task Group, so we have got that sight of how we're going to evolve with that. So we've got that influence as well. So please do just feed in ideas, challenges, concerns that you've got on an ongoing basis. That would be really, really helpful.
Gary?
Building Smart, are they going to get involved at all? It'd be good to hear some stories from them, what they're doing globally, feed into the bigger picture.
Yeah, so David's not here today, unfortunately, and neither is Dave, so that is a bit unfortunate. So I'm still very much so Building Smart UK and Ireland chapter does sit within the Alliance. We had both Nick and David and Dave at the recent summit in Düsseldorf. I was then with Richard Petrie last week in Prague to talk about how we can get Building Smart to work within the ecosystem of ISO and CERN, which is European, and be able to funnel resources more efficiently. So we've got that ongoing dialogue really about how the chapters work with the international and what standards actually, for instance, as a UK and Ireland community, what are the standards we need? What should Building Smart International be evolving within its rooms? But also, more importantly, in a way, which is where I was saying, if we're developing these standards, they better be pragmatic and actually understandable, is how we can then help within the UK and Ireland to be able to implement those standards. And to get people to understand that, for instance, Building Smart isn't just about IFC, it's rather more than that, but the way it's being communicated perhaps hasn't been terribly helpful. And I think with the technology group, really, really valuable that we've got that group who can be looking at what Building Smart are proposing, testing it, challenging it, saying that's not practical or this is a different approach to be had. So we've got, I think, a way now to improve that dialogue and demands, if you like, on building smart. But equally, as the Alliance, we do have that bigger picture of ISO and CEN and BSI and what we're doing from a UK BIM framework point of view. So absolutely building smart is a part of it, but we've got a lot else to do. Are there any more questions on building smart? I did refer to it, but in quite a small way today. But we do want people who are interested in providing the link from UK and Ireland out to the international room, so infrastructure, building, technical room. So this morning I was at actually the ontology workshop for CDBB, and there were two people from Building Smart International, as it happens, from the States, who had taken the next step with Nick Nisbet to feed into that side of things. So again, we need to develop, well, what does that look like? But they are actually the technical room leads, and really looking at what the offering is of Building Smart and how that feeds into ISO.
So if anybody wants to get involved with that, and that's an area of passion for them, please get in touch. We really need volunteers to lean into it.
And the dynamic is quite interesting. So Emma, who isn't here today, Emma Hooper, she's going to be really taking over from Nick Nisbet on, I'm sorry about the numbers, but it's a joint working group 12, which is actually developing the IFC into international standard. And there's been big debates since the autumn about who should be leading the development and the testing of, for instance, IFC, and how it gets lifted to international. So as convener of the strategy, I'm facilitating that conversation at the moment. Emma will be really important on that, but we've also got Marcia here, I know. So from the point of view of level of information need, liaising between Europe and Building Smart under Marcia, and then we're very much hoping to be able to get that input from an alliance perspective as well. So actually that has reminded me, we have got a few ambassadors here. So Marcia is here, Paul is here at the back, Rick is here. Could we just stand up, ambassadors? We haven't got all of you here. But we did meet, was it last week? Or no, the week before, wasn't it? So really looking at how the ambassadors can help with pushing the message out. We are looking for more ambassadors as well. And on that note also, I would like to say that we are looking for non-exec. And we probably, well, not probably, we do need more support in just turning the wheels of the alliance. So if anyone is interested in helping from that perspective, please do get in touch. I would just like to emphasise though, for me, with the greatest respect to exec, the important work is largely being done outside of exec. We haven't got the bandwidth to do what really needs to be happening. We are just here to enable you to do that and to see it through. So don't feel, oh, the execs close shop and you only can get things done if you're in it. That's absolutely not the case. The most important work is being done out with you in the BIM fours, in the regions, and also reaching out, as I say, to the people who haven't got BIM in their label. And that's, so the things that, sorry, I'm talking too much. Somebody needs to shut me down. I think where we really need help at the moment is the outreach to SMEs and the people who don't know what BIM is, and we don't want to blind them with BIM, but also funding. So, when you're putting in projects, I would imagine that you're kind of hoping not only resources, it would be quite helpful to have some funding. That actually is the thing that's, I think, holding us back more than anything, is to really get that funding coming through. We have got some good conversations going on with Centre for Digital Built Britain, and I'll keep you updated on that in the next forum, but we really need to be pulling in more funding for projects.
So without saying too much, we are deliberately looking at the funding model. Obviously it's patrons, how can we look at deliberate fund raising, perhaps on a more deliberately charitable basis, and obviously being in a position to robustly put in bids for research grants, for example. So we're just exploring those options. It's not a done deal. Please don't think we're going off down a certain route, but we're looking to work out how we can enable all of this, which is all that we do. We're just enablers for the work that's going on out there in industry. But just imagine what we could do if we could get a lot more funding in that could be directed with strategic partnerships and really large chunks of cash. That's what we're after. Let's be honest about it. So if you could just wait by the door with your checkbook, or if you know anybody with a large checkbook, please get them to come and see me. And just on the on the resourcing, we all need help. Everybody is bursting at the seams, and I can't praise all of the team highly enough for the work they're doing. This stuff is just amazing, and they're volunteers, and they're trying to keep the machinery going as well. We need help. There should be 2 or 3 people looking at each of these roles, and for succession planning, we will all need to move on at some time. So if anybody has got some interest in the non-glorious roles in enabling the machinery, such as it is, then please have a word with us, because we really do need help. It's not front face looking. There's not a great deal of exposure, certainly not what Steve and myself and perhaps Sean do, which is fine. I don't like exposure anyway. So if that's your thing, and governance, due diligence, financing, being responsible for that, looking how we get funding, and just helping operations move forward. And that's all the dull stuff in the background, but these are the things that enable all the good work that hopefully you are doing and will do. If you've got any interest, even if it's any partial or passing, please get in touch. We need help. Or if you know anybody, give me the number. Thank you.
Right. Got time for one or 2 more. If not, we'll look to wrap up. No more questions. Okay. I'll ask you guys to sit down.
All right, well, thank you very much, everybody, for coming. As I say, thanks to Exec, but also for you. There's a lot of you who we haven't actually, and I'm nervous of starting to say names because I'll miss somebody. So, but thank you ever so much, all of you, for what you do. Really, really appreciated. Let's keep going. I do think, it's a great place we've got to. There's a lot more for us to do. So thank you very much, and see you in September.
And just before we close, just thanks to Bentley for really good venue and hospitality. Really appreciated. One final note: if anyone, so please do come along to the Q3 forum. If anyone's got any ideas how we can make it a bit more interactive, or you'd like to do a piece, or please do get in contact. Engagement@ukbimlights.org. Drop us a note, and we'll get in touch, and we'll go from there. So, thank you very much. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you. Thank you, Andy.
That's not network, is it?
No, but we do know about families.
He was. He's how's he got?
The last meeting, the dancing bit, the benefits up front.
No.
Network, networks that lead into where you start to go.
But then again, I'm not hiding the cost. I don't do that.
Yeah, asking awkward questions. Medical twist of like.
It's only because I've been asked that. I didn't find because I'm helping answer those questions.
The name's been noted.
Did you get quite technical?
If you had to do, I might have a quick one if you had it. I don't mind.
Oh right, I didn't want to just.
Yeah, I can see why.
right, okay. It's discreetly organised on the evening with less people attending.
It wasn't an academic. I want to keep
Good question. That's a good one. That's not me for me to do. Yes.
Roughly taken notes.
Yeah, we did it last time. The whole thing will be we'll stick on the website. I think.
So when we've done it, we send it straight to. I think that's the thing. We need to just.
Okay.
Well, I was going to ask you about.
I'll have a few words with us.
Oh yeah.
Well, you set the date, so I'll make sure they get something.
No, absolutely. Do you want to drop me a note? Thank you.
This is why you need cards.
Only got a key one.
I'll send that across. Just you said Neil Thompson.
She has it. I don't know about the others. She's definitely not.
Covering all bases.
She would be opening it.
So there is
Thank you. Oh, good.
Did you see the whole
Yes, you do.
Yes, been here.
So it's actually, and that is something we want to work with you.
She will be, yeah.
On their part.